right, let's see if this thing's recording. Hey everybody, happy Sunday. It's Crusty Old Crow back with a tactical perspective today. Why? Because yesterday I did a live unboxing of my friend Jay's Vamp, but I didn't do a review. So it's not official if you don't do a review. And man, am I feeling pumped today because I'm reviewing the Vamp, guys, and I know, you're saying, Crow, it don't count. Don't count because it ain't your Vamp. Would it count if I told you I had my own clutch? No? Okay, well, it'll count later. It'll count in the video after this video. This is a two-parter. This is the Vamp review. It's a tactical perspective. And it's going to go rolling right into another video. Basically, what happens when you don't get the Vamp. But you got the clutch. All right, so it is number 112 in the series, which means, of course, the collector needs to have it, right? Like, pardon me, I've got a little bit of a dry throat today, so that's why you're hearing me talking rough. Let's get that music off there. Bubba, brown fox, lazy, jumping words. All right, there we go, guys. So yeah, 112 in the series. It's Clutch and the Vamp. We all remember this toy very much as our childhoods would allow us. I think everybody in the demographic right now, in my subscribers, I should say, not my demographic, but in my subscribers, I'm pretty sure all of you at some point had some variant of the Vamp. Right? And if you didn't, you were well aware of it and you probably wanted it, but your parents didn't love you enough to give it to you, or you traded it away before you even really learned how much you liked it, or you did something ridiculous with it. There's a billion sad Joe stories and we know them all. Santa always being the biggest failure. No flag Santa. But yeah, I really like that side box art. I'm glad that we're retaining this no matter what kind of box or plastic wrap or hybrid thereof they do. But the box is a large scale box and it deserves a little bit of attention in that. This thing, I noticed yesterday while I was unpacking it, was more secure than probably any shipment container I've ever seen, in that the way that you can see the debris behind me. The way that boxing all came undone, that Vamp wasn't budging one single inch inside this IKEA-like fold center of a box. So the PCFs are still on the side of the box. They don't tell you anything about clutch and the QR code. We're going to scan that at some point. And I'm pessimistic. No, I'm realistic. I doubt they've done anything with that again, besides maybe update their homepage with new things on sale. But there's all the things they wanted you to pay attention to. They wanted you to pay attention to that opening engine compartment, and they wanted you to pay attention to those realistic mirrors, which did kind of throw me off because the mirrors are actual mirrors, and they're not like a decal, they're actual mirror gloss. And then Clutch's tattoos were noteworthy. And then you have your entire kit and caboodle, which we did the piece count. And yesterday during my live, I had misplaced Clutch's pistol. That wasn't necessarily the case. What I had done was fail to recognize that pistol had been packed separately inside the coffin and inside the window with Clutch. It was the only piece of kit packed in with him that way. The rest of the kit was in these now going extinct ammo crates inside the Cobra Joe rip apart bag. So that's about all I wanted to talk about with the box. What we're going to do now is I'm going to go through, as per the usual, what did we know back then? What do we know now? Well, we knew back then that this was a love affair that was just beginning with Joe in vehicles, right? We had seen the Ram, we had played with our Ram, and then all of a sudden there was a four-wheel Jeep, and the game changed. Star Wars had their X-Wing and their TIE Fighter. G.I. Joe had something a little bit more relatable. And at that time, it was the best vehicle you could buy, one might argue, right? But it came with our friend Clutch, who I personally had this connection with throughout my life. Having ADHD as severely as I did, I realized I bond with rules and things that I perceive, and I make them laws in my head. And it's always been that way at somewhere. And sometimes it serves me and sometimes it hadn't. In the military, it served me very well. And I kept thinking back when I was a driver of my Coyote, thinking back to clutch. Every time I drove a military vehicle, be it a Coyote, a G-Wagon, what had you, anytime I did, I always thought about clutch. I was like, that's his job, his whole life, that's what he did. He drove. So what do we know about clutch? Well, we know that Lance J. Steinberg is a military specialist in the field of transportation. So he's a trucker by nature. In Canada, we would call that a service battalion role. He would be a driver of vehicles of all sorts, utility vehicles, but not necessarily combat vehicles. In the States, I have no idea really how your military branches out into the sub-trades. But yeah, you know, he's the driver of the Vamp transportation, right? He's a driver. His secondary, of course, is infantry. Everybody in the Army, their secondary role should be infantry. You got to learn how to fight, no matter whether you're behind a keyboard, on a computer, at a desk, or if you were on the front line. You better know how to defend yourself. He is from Asbury Park, New Jersey, and he is a E4, which I believe is sergeant for you guys. Yeah, so Clutch was a mechanic at Manny's Mean Machines, and he was heavily involved in racing street machines prior to enlistment. He graduated Advanced Infantry Training, Covert Operations School, and Executive Bodyguard School, which is very interesting. That's what I liked about him. Ranger School as well, and he's qualified expert in the M14, M16, M19, 11A1, the M3A1, the M79, and the M60, which is just your basic assortment of infantry weapons, be it compact carbines, full-length carbines, underslung grenade launchers, over-the-shoulder rockets, little things like that, grenades, you know, and heavy weapons like what rock and roll would carry, or the saw, right? So just your basic section or company level NATO stock infantry weapons. There. He greases his hair with motor oil, rarely shaves, and chews on the same toothpick for months. Clutch still calls women's chicks, right? And this was written back in what, 1983 or 82? So, you know, it was right at the burn the bra era, at the end of the Cold War era. Women's rights were in full swing. Nancy Reagan was in there somewhere up to that point. And yeah, it's still calling women's chicks that had been identified. It just started that era of identifying, hey, male, kiss my grits. You can't call me a chick no more, right? Like, it was reading that era. Yeah, Alice, right? Mel's Diner, Alice. Okay. So yeah, we know that the Vamp then evolved into the Mark II, into the Cobra Stinger, into the Cobra Rattler, which that is this one over here. I meant to pull this out before. I'd shown Aaron and you guys that I had picked this up on one of my Thrifty Thursdays, and we looked it up, and I thought this is a Cobra Stinger, hands down, no problems, easy. But because it was from the 96 and after line, this was the vehicle that actually came with Vipra the first time. This was the Cobra Rattler. Okay, so that was very interesting to find out. And yeah, that was just through a rabbit hole of looking at places like Yojo Toys and all the other affiliated sites. And if I'm wrong, then maybe I was looking at the wrong reference pictures, but nonetheless, Vipra and the Rattler, and I have yet to get Vipra in my collection, so it makes me think maybe I have to hunt her down. I just wish she wasn't Python Patrol. Don't want an individual Python Patrol anymore. So this isn't about Vipra, this is about the Clutch and the Vamp. I've taken you through there. Let's go put the boxes back on the shelf and let's go visit our friendly Vamp. All right, guys, that was a terrible camera transition, but here you have the Vamp. And I'm just going to bring this down a little bit and get us looking at it from a bit further back. How's that? There we go. And I'm going to tilt her around, but I want to grab my trusty pointer, and I did leave the laser pointer behind today. I left it out in the garage. So I'm going to need to use a different kind of pointer. So I'm going to use this trusty paintbrush. Why? Because I've been painting all weekend, guys. And yeah, it seems appropriate at this point. So first off, I want to say thanks very much to Punk with Toys for doing his Gridiron review. And making a point to mention the ammo cans, and having talked to Lenny and knowing now how these are supposed to go. They do, of course, make perfect sense this way. It's just a very strange design for this representation because there's no bracket to lock them in. So you were trying to figure out if this was grooved for them to stand upright on their ends, but this is the natural progression of an ammo can, right? It's laid down in a zigzag form like this, and the end of the whole bandolier is down here. Sorry, I'm just going to center that better. There you go. The end of the bandolier would be down here, and it would zigzag up in the can to be fed through the ammo, just like Punk was explaining in his video that he and Lenny had discussed, and that was the way it is. The failure of the Vamp weapon system is only that these ammo cans were not clearly able to be locked into a position. And I've really struggled with it. I'm told they do click if you do a certain thing in a certain way, but not necessarily the way that they should for the price point that the Vamp is coming at, and considering that the guns are kind of a critical feature. And if a gun is a critical feature, like the Twin Mod Deuce 50 cals that we're looking at right now, then of course the ammunition would be as well. And it's, whoa, that's not a shot, guys, because I didn't drop it on the floor. All right, so if you don't think that makes any sense, what I'm saying is basically it's the same premise I had with the Ram over here. Oh yeah, you guys see that ring light, that terrible lamp. No bandolier of ammo feeding into that made this weapon less enjoyable. Mismatched, misfitted, misunderstood bandoliers of ammunition and boxes attached made this weapon almost less enjoyable until I watched the Punk video. So Jay, if you're watching, we've sorted out the ammo, we've sorted out the gun because of YouTube. Thank you, YouTube. So what I've done is I've just put a piece of sticky tack behind each ammo can and just kind of press them in there so they'll stay flat, and we have a fine set of Twin Mod Deuce 50 cals on the back of our Vamp. Well, by ours, I mean Jay's Vamp. So there we go. Look at this. Watch. Ready? What's up, Lance? What's going on, man? What's up, baby? How you doing? Right? Those mirrors really made my day when I saw those the other day. As just a neat little feature, but I wonder how much cost they ate up as an additional material, reflective, whatever. It doesn't matter. I thought it was really cool. I know that things open up on here, and I didn't explore that much. I was more about, during the live yesterday, getting this thing assembled and putting the pieces away because I was feeling bad that I thought I had lost a pistol, which wasn't the case. But yeah, all the decals, I did mention the other day that there is no decals with this, thank God. It's all pre-stamped, painted on. And I like the fact that they scratch some of those up, like the caution, just like your old stickers would be faded and torn away from weeks of play in the backyard, and maybe it's gone through the water, things like that. But it's got that tow hook there for the future MMS or NMS or whatever Joe's calling theirs. And then we've got the gas can with the axe on the back. And I do like those, the fact they didn't get lazy with the brake lights and just give you a couple of red lenses back there. They actually gave you respectable brake lights with the housing and everything like that. Like, the amount of detail they put in here is living up to the hype, of course. And now we understand that this is at best an 80s kind of Lamborghini style military utility vehicle, but they didn't modernize it for enough. I don't know, maybe they did. They modernized it, but they didn't over modernize it, I guess is the word I'm looking for here. Because one thing I'd like to point out, guys, is you ain't gonna get no EV vehicle out of Joe this year. That thing takes diesel or gas, one or the other, but that is a gas guzzling, deer killing, trail blazing, cobra killing machine. Because, yeah, fuel cap, right? So one thing I would have liked to have seen, just as an experienced crew member, just a neat little detail, maybe gridiron if you're listening, to the side off here, have a flex spout that connects to these cans, like not actually connects, but is represented to connect to those cans, because that's how you refuel on the go. You stop, you pull out your jerry cans, you pour them in there. You're using a flex spout every time. That would be a neat little detail add. I would have taken that maybe over some other decal or feature. Not necessarily anything I can name right now, but you know, it would definitely show a sense of understanding of how military vehicle operations are represented, right? Like, you got all the tooling, but you've got the jerry cans. You're just missing that flex spout, guys. Not quite sure, but yeah, that's just supposed to be a little chain. I would have been surprised that, I actually am surprised that they didn't highlight it. But again, that black, they didn't highlight anything on the black with a different color. But these, they did these in silver or gold. Sorry, I'm trying to see in the light. These little dots in gold, but then left this chain black, right? So that was weird. And then we've got our nylon rope, or whatever kind of rope it is, with our tow hook on our winch, and that's cool. It is a little play feature that's nice to have. You can, whatever you're doing with your shelf, if you needed a guy hanging off a winch like Wolf Spider or something, you've got it now, and it's great. And it's tucked away behind those KC type, blind you on the rear view mirror, freeze you up like a deer kind of headlights there. And if you were wondering, if you didn't have the Vamp there, that windscreen does of course come down and you can pop it out. And all of this has been shown to be very, very inspiring for the company Gridiron Studios, because they've made so much amazing stuff for this, as Punk was showing us today, and as I've seen on other guys' channels with these door side guns and the different kind of turrets, the door kits, all this other stuff. A lot of people clearly inspired by this beauty. But yeah, we have this nice little enclosed engine here, and you can see that it's all enclosed. So why would they enclose it? Well, because it's a water fording vehicle, meaning that this vehicle is meant to be able to go through river systems probably and things like that. Not much good with those doors open, but the idea is there that that water and type, it won't stall out the engine this way, right? Why do I think that? Because that is what the Canadian G-Wagon, which is made by Mercedes-Benz, is actually got going for it. And it's the same idea. You don't think these things are meant for that, but you can see there's a snorkel for that one, for the airflow. That maybe we should have had one for there, and maybe Gridiron makes one of those. But that vehicle has almost the exact same design going for it as far as the water tightness, guys. So that, to me, whoops, there we go. Sorry about this, guys, and I'm sorry if the mic is making a little bit of noise every time I move it. I just haven't gotten quite the camera work I want yet. But yeah, that watertight engine, that's what I'm calling that, because you can't see any of the cylinder heads, any of the details that you would normally see in a big vehicle engine like this, be it a Detroit diesel or a Caterpillar or anything like that. Yeah, you would have this, even a Pentastar, right? So watertight, and therefore we need a snorkel on this, in my humble opinion, guys. But moving on, I did like these D-ring features. I mentioned that in the live, that these will come into play someday on your shelf. Having things hook into those will be useful. I don't know, I hope so for you, because they're a nice little feature, and that's realistic. But I did say I would dry brush those dirt brown and just leave them, because I've never seen a clean one on any armored vehicle ever. Those lights, as I said, were a great feature. And then you've got your bundled, I'm assuming, driver's toolkit probably stored here, but they did have a compartment actually for the toolkit. So maybe this is other kind of Pioneer kit that he keeps in there, like pickaxes or tire pump, tire replacement, or tire plug kits. Sorry, I shouldn't say tire replacement. There is no replacement tire, but a tire plug kit and all those other things, maybe a jack. This here, back when I was a kid, we thought this was a machine gun that the driver activated because it had little porous holes in there, if I remember right, like little openings. I'm just trying to call up the old Vamp image here and see if we can see it. Yep, right there. So if I show you on the old Vamp, right there, you can see that that thing barrel had scoring, right? It looked like a gun barrel or an exhaust pipe, but because it was facing forward, gun barrel. But what they've explained it actually is meant to be, which makes much more sense, is an air sensor and reader, basically, for nuclear, biological, chemical, viral threat. It's a sniffer, and it would let you know what kind of environment you're going into, which is a subtask for a lot of reconnaissance units, is to define the perimeter of a chemical weapons attack and things like that, right? So that is an interesting feature thrown into it. That's how it was explained on one that I was watching, and as soon as the guy had mentioned it, I was like, yeah, that makes perfect actual sense, much more so than the front driver gun, which, what's he going to do if it jams? He can't go clear it. He's driving. You know, it's just it's a distractive device. But there's this toolbox, and then you got to follow those procedures on 5, 6, 4, 7. And don't forget, you got to know how to unlatch. I will talk about the wheels a little bit. I was hoping I could do Jay a favor and not have the issue everybody was having with the wheels, but I couldn't, and I ended up having the exact same wonkety wheels as everybody else. They rattle in place, and I did talk to Jay about it, and I was apologetic, but I don't think there was anything I could have done to avoid it from the sounds of it. So he let me know that as much, and so did 3-Star Draw. I'm tuned in on that live. And hey guys, if you're enjoying this Vamp review right now, if you don't mind it being so late to the game, but also hitting that like, share, subscribe, I sure would appreciate that. Trying to grow the channel. We're getting very close to that 350. I think we're within the 10 now. This was one thing I absolutely loved, was the dashboard and all the different readout displays, heads up, digital stuff that's going on there. That was a modernized dashboard. You can even see even the steering wheel has a bunch of feature display buttons on there that he could be activating, and all the way down to where his fuses and other connectors would be. He's got even more going on. And oh look, there's a tattoo they want you to see. Speaking of clutch, I'm not going to bother pulling him out of there. I will pull down my clutch because it's the same clutch. Like I said, I was able to secure one. But I will pull out his second helmet, which I was pretty impressed by. You'll notice I did move those holy F bars out of the way so you can see clutch sitting there. Hey buddy, what's going on, guy? Chicks, any chicks? There you go. That's about as 80s as I can get. And then we'll just mask. Okay, we should have checked the helmet first. Anyways, yeah, there you go. That's him with the helmet. And I mean, it's a cool helmet. I wasn't a real big fan of the Raphael. Knowing it was Raphael, that kind of ruined it for me. Once somebody had pointed out, hey, by the way, did you know that that's the Raphael paint job? And I was like, shit, no. Before that, it kind of reminded me of a World War II P-38 kind of fighter ace or something, like something fighter pilot kind of stuff. Now, I think of Raphael. Yeah, and I didn't want to, considering how much Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle stuff I've been repainting lately. So guys, that clutch I already reviewed. I just didn't get a chance to show you the helmet. And the fact is, his wrench is actually red, which is on this clutch's belt. So being fair, I've got to show this in case Jay's watching. Look, your clutch has a red wrench as opposed to the black one I got because I had an extra one from my second cover girl. So am I upset that I didn't get this Vamp yet? No. I mean, it's a good kit. It's I knew it was going to be. There was no denial that I was missing out by not getting the order in on time. And my own struggles with Hasbro Pulse and getting it ordered or budgeting for it, those are my own. So I bear no animosity, and but I'm not jealous of people who have them. And this arrangement I had to do the review today was serving both my friend Jay and I, like I said. He has a bit of a visual issue, and he and I have made a friendship. And on the side, I am picking up spare figures from him that he has for sale, and that's mutually beneficial. But we are very like-minded people. And once I understood why he wanted me to do the Vamp for him, I had no problem with it. Now, I was a bit disappointed myself for not figuring out where that pistol was, and I was disappointed with the product for overall just the rickety wheels. But as far as my nostalgia and childhood love of this vehicle, it all came back as we went, right? This is an updated version, clearly, of something that meant a lot to me as a kid, as I remember it very fondly. Yeah, Joe was everything to me as a child. So I know, yeah, new weapon systems. That's great. That I didn't mind that at all because there's enough 3D printer companies and Gridiron guys like that to do up the old ones if you really want them. And yeah, it would have been nice to give you the choice as opposed to just picking one and have that second weapon included in the kit, much the way they do with the old blaster rifle and M16 that they did with the Grunt set, or how they're doing Retro Duke, Retro Scarlet with all the old cartoon weapons on the side. That would have been a nice little incorporated feature if they could have done that. But they didn't, and at least they didn't give you a terrible weapon. They gave you a good one, and they put a lot of details to make this a very worthwhile kit, and I do believe it's worth the price point it was put at. But I think there was a couple of things missing that should have been added on there. I'm not talking about the flex can. I want to talk about some logic of gunnery and something that's missing. They've got the Ma Deuces on there. They're using 50 cals. 50 cals are real weapons, guys. This is why the point about the way that these got fed up was so important. And I explained this to Punk, if you're watching. I explained this in one of my comments. We have what's called flex chutes that would normally guide up on a weapon system like this. On a dual feed, you would want flex chutes. And so Gridiron made their kits with flex chutes. And they are just flexible guides that feed ammo into guns, right? But with that also comes the premise of the hard chute, which doesn't have to be long, and they come in different configurations. But they would sit near where the links would be getting ejected out of this weapon, the link and casings, and they would guide it outwards away from the mechanisms of the actual turret system, right? You got a picture of this thing stationary and firing for like 5 minutes at a range. You're going to have a pile of brass and link piling up here, and those links are going to get caught into some of the operating gears of this thing if they are not shunted away. Right, so it's almost like a deflection system. So I never saw any representation of a hard chute or a link ejection system incorporated into this design, right? And I'd be curious if Gridiron did that with theirs. I think maybe they probably would, because it is something that, you know, turret operators are very, very familiar with. You don't know pain until you've jammed up a 50 cal or a 25 mil Bushmaster, and you've got to figure out what went wrong, and you've got to reach in there and pull out, you know, chutes, ammo link, get that action to the rear, you know, operate that safety switch on these things. It's nothing on a Bushmaster. It can be a bitch. So just, it was one of my pet peeves because the ammo feed, you know, the way that Lenny and Punk had described it, and we got to see that on his video, was great. However, with what goes in has to come out, right? So there you go, guys. So that's going to be it for the Vamp review for today, and I'm just gonna fondle it in my hands as I close things out. You can hear my family thumping around. I guess it's almost time for dinner, so I best get this going. So the Vamp, absolutely I would buy one of these. I know some of you have up to 3 of these, and I understand why, especially when you start getting into the idea of kitting it out with some of the gridiron options that are out there and other 3D printers, or perhaps, like Aaron the toy maker, you have your own innovative ideas for it, like jacking it up and making it a remote control RC car before most people have even received theirs from Hasbro. Aaron had that done. And if you haven't seen it, please go check out his video. He also did a live with me and 3-Star talking about it for a little bit in that video. I think we shifted focus and we definitely meant to pay more attention to it. But the Super Vamp's amazing. But yeah, I can see why a few people would pay extra. Now, I am not going to go on to the secondary market and pay an exorbitant amount of money for this. I'm just going to wait till my opportunity comes to either buy that with or without clutch on the secondary, like Facebook Marketplace or eBay, or if Hasbro gets them back up, I'll do it. But at least now I've reviewed it and I know that it is worth what it's worth. I want to thank you very much, Jay. Hush Hangouts, for those of you who are going, who's Jay? Who you've seen in the chats in many a place, right? But I want to thank you very much, Jay, for allowing me to review that, have a look at that, assemble that, understand it, and realize what it was that had changed about it and what was very much as I remember it. And I always appreciate a trip to go down that memory lane. Am I disappointed I didn't get this helmet now? Now that I've seen it, yeah, a little. It's different. The steel core helmet, I was used to it being a second head option, but here it's actually a helmet option. So I do wish that when I bought my clutch, the seller was willing to have let go of that, but that's okay. When I do get my Vamp, I'll have that, and that's great. But much better helmet than I expected from what I was seeing. I was thinking, it's not worth doing a head swap just for that, but doing a helmet swap's easy peasy. So there we go, guys. So on a tactical and a play grade and a creative grade. On a play grade for this toy, and that's what we're going to call it because that's what it is, I am going with an A+, but it could have been an A++. All we needed was maybe to spend an extra $5 to $10. I don't know. And it's the same thing I would say about the 60th anniversary. And oh my God, if Roadblock Tiger Force is the same, they'll say it again. Collapsible tripod. It's just a little folding piece. It's one leg that folds between the two and then the two collapse in. If you're going to have the 50 cal and you're going to cart it around, having a collapsible tripod and foldable, it's no different than what you're doing with the stretcher already, right? The stretcher for dock, that folds and pegs. That's what we needed with the tripod. And to have these twin Modus 50 cals on here without a bracket holding a couple of tripods tells me a person only thought so strategically. All right, you got to think about what happens when a vehicle like this goes down, gets stuck in the mud, can't recover itself, even though it's got a great play winch and all the D-rings in the world and driver tools and all that advanced shit. If this vehicle becomes a mobility kill for anything, for any good reason, and Clutch has to fight the vehicle, yeah, he can stand there, but it's going to draw fire. Maybe he's got to take the 50 cals off. Maybe he's got to set them up, do whatever. Like, he doesn't have the ability to do anything but use them here. And I think that it would have been cool to have them be able to be dismounted as well. But also, if they run out of ammo, all he's got now is a pistol. And that's the other part that I do believe, stronger than the tripods really, is important, is that he should have come with a driver's rifle. A compact AR style rifle or even a little MP5 boarding gun, my God, you could have justified the Uzi again. I don't know. Something to defend himself beyond the Beretta or whatever he's carrying. Yeah, a defense weapon of some sorts. Even a cover girl. Oh, never mind, pardon me. He got the shotgun. I forgot about that. Yeah, I would have preferred at least a smaller weapon than the shotgun. That's what I was thinking on that point. But yeah, he got a shotgun. He got a cover girl shotgun as most of her kit. Didn't get the iPad though, which is a damn shame. So on a play grade, A+, on attack grade, B+. B+ because of the limited ammo count that we see. We don't see brackets with more ammo cans. All the really good tactical stuff, I'm sorry, is going to be on that secondary market. It really is. Or perhaps on the Stinger when they switch to missiles, or the Vamp Mark II when they switch to missiles. Maybe they'll have made some corrections here. Armor plating was always a great one. But on the creativity grade, so we've gone A+, B+, creativity grade on what they did do with this. And I look at limitations of budget and things like that. I've got to go in A+ again. And like I said, with that play factor comes all these little points on the sides where that they've worked in, little stands for you to stand your Joes, hand grips for you to hold on to. There's a lot of playability for up to, I'd say, probably 2, 4, 6, 7 Joes, maybe 8 if you're really able to pack it in. Up to 8 Joes hanging off this thing, possibly. I could see it, but 7 for sure. Anyways, yeah. Creativity grade goes the same as the play grade, A+, because of what you were able to incorporate it. But no, pardon me. I got to change that play grade. I got to change it down to a B+. So B+, B+, A+. The reason I'm changing the play grade, I forgot about the ammo can conundrum. What a son of a bitch that was. And the wheels. Yeah, no, the wheels are fine. You can rickety on terrain. It's the ammo can. Anyways, guys, I'm going to sum that up before I go on any crazy rant. And my clutch review remains the same. A+ all around. All 3 categories because it's clutch in these OG 13. What? All right, guys. If you like my stuff, like, share, subscribe. Punk, I'm going to hit you in the comments. I'm going to tag you in this one because thank you again for showing us that gridiron stuff and mentioning that ammo can issue. It was a very good time to see that video before I gave this thing back to my friend and subscriber, Jay, Hush Hangouts, because he deserves the best Vamp he bought, and now he's got it. So thanks very much, guys, and I will see you on the part 2 of this video, which is what happens when you don't buy the Vamp.